Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're going to take a look this time at two Battle Masters. We have here the Autobot Smashdown and the Decepticon Caliburst. Now in the G1 continuity, Caliburst did exist. He was the Target Master partner to Slugslinger, and was basically described as a former actor who signed on with the Decepticons primarily for the money. Smashdown, however, is not a G1-inspired character, although it is likely he might have been considered for an action master, as his animal-like appearance seems to be inspired by some of the more animalistic characters that were set up as Action Master partners. So far, there's no evidence to support this, but it is a theory that does carry a little bit of weight. Anyway, these guys were somewhat more recently released. Smashdown's been out for a little while. Caliburst has been out fairly recently, both of whom are starting to get pretty hard to find this time of the year. Evidently, cheap weapons like this are perfect stocking stuffers for Christmas. Alright, anyways, let's take a look at them individually and see what we can do with them. We'll start here with Smashdown, as he's been out the longest. He seems to be inspired by a minotaur, creature from Greek mythology that has the body of a man but the head of a bull. In this case, he has the body of a Cybertronian and the head of a bull. Pity he doesn't come with a maze, but he does come with a piece that people should keep an eye out for. And it's this long shaft piece here. This basically forms the hand grip for his weapon mode. It locks in here in a special slot on his backside, but it doesn't go in very far, so as you can imagine, this will likely pop off with very little to no effort whatsoever. And that, in my eyes, that's a drawback, but hey, that's my opinion. As for articulation goes, well, we can raise his arm up about so far, and his arms can be rotated all the way around. Good. Does look like his head can turn from side to side, and it can rock up and down. His legs can be spread apart so that he can do full splits. And he can raise his legs at the hip about so far. And of course, as you saw, we just knocked the shaft out of him again. So as you can see, this is not really one of the best designed weapons. I don't mind this little shaft being removable, but it needs to be set up where it can go in and stay in a more permanent manner. Maybe I'm putting it in wrong. Yep. Looks like I'm putting it in wrong. That's better. That's how the shaft is supposed to go in. The hollow end will face his head, and that should keep it secured in there. Now let's see, to transform him into his weapon mode, we'll put his arms up like so. And then we'll bring his head down and rotate it so that the horns are pointing upwards like so. Then we fold up his legs like that. Then they get folded out to the sides, and then we rotate them up and connect them to his arms. They're supposed to connect in some way, shape, manner, or form here. Now we got to shift things here at the hip so that it brings his legs level with his arms. And then they snap together just like that. That's something that they don't really emphasize too much in the instructions, but you get the idea. And then here is his weapon mode. He is described as an Airquake Hammer Claw. So we basically have a hammer, similar to the weapons used by Thor from the Marvel Comics movies. Or if you want to go by some extremes, Shao Kahn of the Mortal Kombat fighting games also uses a hammer as a weapon. Of course, it does come with, Smashdown does come with this big orange energy spark, so that it can look like he's delivering quite an impact. Now let's mount him onto a transformer. Even though he's not the right faction, we have Refractor here. He will suffice. And then this way you can see how it looks in a Transformer's hands. And that doesn't look too bad. Although in Refractor's size, it might look better on one of the bigger Transformers, but that's not too bad. Now let's change up things and take a look at Caliburst. And here we have Caliburst. I don't have his G1 form to compare him to, but I know the G1 versions did not have a whole lot of articulation in them. Mainly it was all reserved in the legs and the hips. But here, on this Siege version, we can raise his arm up about so far. And he can rotate his arm all the way around at the shoulder. He can only do a partial splits from the way his legs are, but if you rotate them, no, he still won't do it. And you can raise his legs up about so far. Now, of course, when he's in this mode, you can always remove the gun piece from his backside. So you can see the gun piece here. And it does have a little post on the bottom, so it can be attached to one of his arms and be used as a cannon. Or if you much prefer, but of course to transform him, it can be attached to his back, like so. Now, of course, to transform him, it's pretty much the same format as it is for most of them. You'll fold the gun piece up over his head. You will combine his legs together at the feet, and then fold the legs and hip assembly up, because you'll connect the two posts of the back of his feet into the gun. And then as you'll see here on in his hand, on his arms, he's got little slots right at his wrists, and those connect into the little hole here at his hip. And then there you are. He is in his gun mode. The gun mode is described as an oxidation cannon. Very wicked looking gun. And of course he comes with this little purple energy spark that can be attached to the end like so. Alright, well, enough holding him in my hand. Once again, we'll bring out our model, Refractor, and we'll put the gun in his hand and see how that looks. And Again, that's not too bad. It really isn't, folks. I mean, this one also looks to be about the right size to fit with Refractor. Of course, the Voyager class ones, the next size up, would also not look too bad, holding on to this gun as well. Now, of course, we get down to my thoughts about these guys. And I'm still pretty impressed by how the Battle Masters have turned out in this wave. They're a nice expansion and update of the Target Master and Action Master weapons from the Generation 1 era. So it is nice to see them being brought back, and also being brought back with a little bit better of a purpose than how they were presented in the Generation 1 canon. In the G1 format, the weapons were specifically bonded to a specific character, so that made interchanging weapons sort of impossible in some circumstances, but in their lore it also meant that they grew adjusted to that specific weapon, and if that character ended up dying in battle, then they had to go through extra therapy to retrain themselves to use a non-sentient weapon, as was depicted in some of the comic books, where Hot Rod's partner, Firebolt, was killed in battle, and Hot Rod had to retrain himself with a normal rifle because he grew dependent on how his Target Master partner was able to help correct his aim. So this is a nice update for this theme. It's also nice to see that we get some melee weapons as well. It's nice to have a little bit of variety, and it shows a little less Hasbro cheapness, but as you've seen throughout most of these Siege months, we aren't escaping it entirely. But this is a nice lineup of weaponry, and I definitely do praise it, so I think we'll probably go about in the middle tier, just shy of being in the top tier, since unfortunately Smashdown here has no G1 equivalent to compare him to. And unfortunately they're not giving us much media backstory to fill in as to how the characters are different from their G1 counterparts. At least this time I'm pretty certain that Caliburst is not a Nebulon but an actual Transformer. But it still begs the question, why did he side with the Decepticons this time around? Maybe we'll never know. At any rate, that concludes my review of the Battle Masters Smashdown and Caliburst. If you liked the review, drop me a thumbs up here on YouTube. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below to join our ranks. And ring the bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. And also, unless this video has been censored for kids, please share your thoughts about Smashdown and Caliburst in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.